Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Welcome to Monday Morning Coach Call. So as usual, if any questions and concerns, always just type them in the chat box, or question box, and we'll be happy to address those. So first thing I wanted to talk about is with the new tie the power of attorney to everything script. I've had some people, since we do tie it into the home insurance, so I've had people say, what do we look at when we look at the home insurance? And by the way, guys, please give me feedback on the new power of attorney tied to everything script, because right now the only people who give me feedback is that it's working unbelievably well. So if there's anybody having hiccups or roadblocks to that, please let me know right away, because right now I think I've talked to like 5 different people that have used it, and it's worked wonderfully well. So if there's somebody who's not having that experience, let me know as soon as possible. Thanks. So here's the 2 things that we can look at a homeowner's insurance. First is we do need to see if it will work with their power of attorney. So we're going to use our the power of attorney fix manual and use that same questionnaire that we use there to talk to the home insurance company. And then the second thing we can look for is, let's see if I can get there with this. Would you like to, let's say yes and see if we can go there. Aha, yeah, awesome. The other thing we're looking for, and we talk about this, is the fact that a lot of insurance companies have changed over the last decade with all the huge amounts of storms and things like that that people have had. A lot of insurance companies have changed to a replacement value. Instead of replacement value coverage, they've just done actual cash value. So again, what you see right here is how it works. Homeowners insurance policies offer actual cash value or replacement cost value. So for years and years, replacement cost is what you would pay for the item today's cost. That's what they've been doing for years and years and years. Now, because of so many of the storms and where these property casualty companies, somebody's, Missy or Jeff, one of you aren't muted, and I can hear what you're doing there. Thanks. So a lot of insurance companies have gone to actual cash value, and what they do is they change the policy, and then they notify the policy holders in the annual package that they send them. Well, how many people read that? So a lot of people don't even realize that this has happened to them. So you can imagine if you had a $20,000 roof damage, and then you think you're going to get $20,000, but they depreciate it, and you only end up with $6,000, and you have to come up with the other $14,000. That's going to be pretty harsh. So those are the 2 things that we're looking for when it comes to home insurance. So we can talk to the home or property casualty company to see if they're what they need for powers of attorney, and then we can look for that. So any questions on that? So that's not even actually talked about in the 21-point checklist, but you could tie it right there to the umbrella where we act, because the umbrella is tied to the homeowner's insurance. So the second thing I want to talk about is this. Some people attribute this to Einstein. Some people say that's baloney, but we can all agree that compound interest is an unbelievably powerful tool. And we talk to our clients about that all the time. But too many of us are not doing compounding ourselves. And I've talked about this before. Let's see if anybody can remember, what am I talking about that we don't use, that we should be compounding? What do we not use that we should be compounding? Let's see if we can get any answers to that. Our existing clients. Yeah, I agree with that, Robert. And go take it one step further, Robert. Client relationships, Chris. Yep. Yep. Annualized returns. Nope, not annualized returns. We talk about that all the time. Well, a lot of people are saying referrals, but you know what? Here's the thing. Can we create referrals, guys? Can we create referrals? No, we can't. We can be there at the right time when those happen, but if anybody could actually create referrals, would anybody be on the phone right now? So it's not referrals. Leveraging current relationships to increase business. Michael, I agree with that. So yeah, so a lot of you are touching on what the point is, which is this. Guys, when you market and you get in front of people and they don't make appointments with you, if you just let those die on the vine, that's crazy. That's crazy. You need to make sure that when you've marketed and you get the names of people and they know who you are, that you continue to drip on them. You need to continue to drip on them. That's compounding. You don't want to like spend a bunch of money for marketing and then get in front of 20 people and then have 80 people or 80 or 50 or whatever people that didn't want to meet with you and do nothing with them. You need to continue to drip on them. You spend a lot of money to get in front of them. It costs you very little to continue to drip on them, to keep them warm. That's compounding your marketing. Too many guys will go do an event, and then let's say that they have, now guys right now are getting a lot more appointments than they have ever before, but even the people that don't become clients, you need to continue to drip, 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 drip on them. You should have a warm list, and you need to drip on them. That's compounding your marketing. You spend a lot of money up front. Make sure that that money does not go down the drain after your marketing. So you got to have a CRM. If you don't have a CRM, a client management device or a prospect management, you're crazy in today's world. It costs you so much to get in front of people. Make sure that once you've got that relationship with them, that you keep those people warm, that you keep dripping on them. And we give you all the tools to drip on them. We give you an email and we give you a newsletter to drip on them. So make sure you're constantly dripping on them, because I would tell you straight out that when you do that, a year from now, you'll be able to put together 2 or 3 free events just based on that warm list. You're not going to have to spend a lot of money, not free, probably cost you $50 to get in front of 30, 40 people if you do it that way. So which CRM do we recommend, Missy? Is it Act for Advisors? Is that what we recommend? There's lots of them out there. Can you talk to that for a second, Missy? Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Act for Advisors is, so Act is the CRM, which is, I think, been renamed to Sage. And the Act for Advisors is kind of like an add-in, and that kind of gives you the terminology that we would use for, holding more of the contract or policy information. But it works really well. It's super easy to modify, and is, kind of open up the box and it's going to work right out of the gate. There's not a lot of tweaking that you have to do. So again, it's just Act, which is, I think, Sage now. It's been repurchased by Sage. And then Act for Advisors, I don't know if they've renamed that one, but that's just like a little add-in. So it's the advisor, what kind of gives you the advisor terminology.
Thank you, Missy.
Yep.
So I don't really care what, if you've got a CRM that's working, continue to use that CRM. If you don't have one, a lot of guys use the Act for Advisors, Sage, with the module for advisors, and that's worked out. But my point for sure is, God, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to guys, they've been in the business for 30 years, and I say, what's your warm list? And guess what they say? I really haven't tracked that. Dude, you have cost yourself thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars by not keeping those contacts. Does that make sense? Well, I don't. Well, so if you have any questions on, I'm not here to promote. So I'm getting a lot of different things about CRMs. I'm not here to promote or critique or anything else CRM. So if you want our advice, we like Act for Advisors, Sage. Otherwise, I'm not going to comment on any other ones because I don't know anything about any of the other ones. So, but my point is not which one to get, but to get one, because it's crazy that for you to get in front of a ton of people and then not even know who those people are. Now, that's talking about warm people, but there's one thing that's even more frustrating for me, and that is what to do with your current. I have guys that have been in the business, again, 20, 30 years, and we want to go back and talk to their clients, and they say, well, they don't even know who I am. They sold them something, and then what? Disappeared in the woodwork. That's crazy. Are you completely out of your mind? When you sell something, the easiest person to, well, who's the easiest person to sell something to, guys? Who's the easiest person to sell something to? Every retailer in the world knows that. Existing clients, Barry, exactly. Existing clients. So if you just sell something and run away, that's crazy. So I say it's that time of year again, almost, because I personally like to do all my client reviews during the summer because it was less, you're going to get in front of less people with your events, so that leaves you more time. Now, I didn't stop doing events in the summer, but I didn't put quite the emphasis on the summers I did January, February, March, April, May, because that's where those are the hot seasons, and then also in September, October. That's when I would do a ton of public events. And I do maybe one in the summer, but in the summer I spend an awful lot of time nurturing my current clients. So I want to talk about that. How do you run an annual review? How do you run your annual review? So first of all, I want to talk about what not to do. What not to do. And that is, you don't want their opinion that it's all about the money. And so many guys, what they do is they come in, and what do they prepare? What do most advisors prepare for when clients come in? Well, I've had 3 or 4 people say, we like to do it around their annual statements. I get that. I get that you like to do it and spread it, but you know what? Here's the thing you'll find about any task in life. If I try to spread a task, am I going to be far better focusing on a task and doing the same thing over and over and over closely together, or to spread it out? So I'll give you an example of that. When I've asked you to learn the power of attorney script, did I say you should do that an hour a day, an hour a day, an hour a day, an hour a day, or did I say take 4 hours and learn it backwards and forwards during that 4 hours? So you can do this any way you want. But in my opinion, I want to do all my annual reviews at the same time. And I want to do it at the time when I should, I want to do it at the time that's in a lull for getting in front of new people, or do I want to do it at a time, sprinkle it in when I'd like to be just getting in front of new people? So you can do it whenever you want, but I'm going to try to do it when it's during a lull. So I do it in November and December, and I do it in June and July. So that's when I do mine. You can do yours whenever you want, but I'm going to do, those are the 4 months when it's going to be harder than heck to get in front of new people. So that's when I'm going to do my annual reviews. So this slide up here, it's how do most advisors conduct annual reviews? They do what? Again, a great example of that is people saying it's when the statements come in. So guess what they're thinking that the annual review should be about? If somebody's saying it's when the annual statements come in, what are they thinking that it's only about the money, right? We don't want it to be about the money. Why don't we want it to be about the money, guys? Why do we not want it to be about the money? Well, that means sometimes what? Our meetings are going to go really well, and sometimes our meetings are going to what? Are going to suffer. Why? Because, yeah, you live and die by the performance. Exactly. The other thing it shouldn't be about is this. Are you lonely? Tired of working on your own? Do you hate making decisions? Hold a meeting. You can see people, show charts, feel important, point with a stick, eat donuts, impress your colleagues, all on company time, meetings, the practical alternative to work. So what do you think I mean by this? What do you think? Don't do this. Why am I saying not to do this? What do you think I'm talking about here? Yes, Chris. That's right, Chris. It's don't have a meeting for the sake of a meeting. And I tell you what, I'll talk to guys all day long, especially, when guys will come on the system, this is where I identify. And then when I'm finding a guy's not producing, I talk to them about their time, and they say, oh, I'm busy. And when I look at what they're doing, what are they doing? They're doing 2 things. One is they're running their daughters to dance lessons, and 2, what are they doing? What are they doing? They're seeing clients. And what are they doing with the clients? What are they doing with them? I don't know. They certainly ain't making money from them. So nothing productive, all right, Barry? Nothing productive. If you don't have an annual review with the client unless you have an agenda in mind. So let's see some things that you can have for agendas. What kind of agendas can you have for your annual meetings? Because you know what? I talk to guys. They're busy as heck. At least they think they do. And when they send me their calendars, they've got names in there, but the names are they've got maybe 10 names in there. That's how busy they were all month long. They met with 10 people, and all 10 end up being clients. And I say, well, how much business did you do with those 10 people? And guess what they say? Well, none. It's just a client review. Dude, you got to get something from those meetings. Yes, it's about taking care of clients, but you can't just take care of clients. There has to be some way for you to leverage that into being more productive, more efficient. Okay? So yeah, I always want to do the 20-point review, but how does that help you guys? I'm not saying it's wrong. We do want to do a 20-point checklist. How can that help you? Well, Matt said it, so I'm going to see if somebody else can do it. I discovered new assets. Brad, I'd agree. Get more assets and more referrals, Barry. That's exactly right. So you can ask somebody, hey, do you know anybody that would benefit from getting their power of attorney looked at? Hey, would you know anybody that would benefit? Has anybody had that you know have a death in their family recently? So you can actually leverage it for referrals or find more money, shake more money loose for it. Exactly. It shouldn't be just the sake of having a meeting, because here's the thing. This meeting has cost this much money. Guys, your time is valuable, but many of you don't treat it like that. And what you're looking to do, and here's the sad thing. The guys that I see when I look at their calendar and they're wondering, how can I make more money? But I look at their calendar and they got a bunch of appointments in there for family stuff, and then they got appointments in there for personal stuff like going to the dry cleaners. Why the hell are you putting that in your calendar? And then they've got the 10 appointments they have in there for the month are all with current clients. Why are they doing that? At the end of the month, what do they feel? What's dangerous about that? They feel busy, Barry. And but why? Busy good or busy bad? Do they think they've accomplished something that month? Well, I would agree, Matt. They feel busy, not productive. But the unfortunate thing is they feel busy and productive. But I agree with you, Matt. They should feel busy but not productive. So, guys, when you have a meeting, make sure you know why you're having a meeting. What is your agenda? And productivity equals dollar, exactly, Barry. And it shouldn't be about you. The meeting should not be about you. It should be about who? Should be about the client. So what's our goals with annual reviews? What should our goal be with the annual reviews? Well, two things. One is we do want to have meetings to create harmony with us and the client. So it is essential that we have meetings so we can create more harmony with us and the client, so that they trust us more, they like us more. And why do we want them to trust us more and like us more? To first of all, make sure they stay with us. Second of all, make sure their family stays with us. And third of all, to see if we can get some referrals. Exactly, Roy. Referrals. And then the second thing we should do is we should need to walk through the plan. So it's to produce harmony and to walk through the plan. And what's our plan? What's our plan? What do we use with the 5Q system? Right, Kevin, the 20-point checklist. And again, a lot of you know that my background came from IDS or Ameriprise. They changed their name to after I left. And I was the number one for 6 months. I was the number one person in the state of Minnesota for IDS or Ameriprise for selling their financial plans, which is a big old waste. And if you want to know why I hate financial plans so much and financial software so much, it's because I was so good at it, and by being good at it, I sold a ton of plans. And where did all those plans end, guys? Where did they all end up? Where did all those financial on the shelf, right, Barry? Worthless. Because the day you put it in their hand, it is what? The day you put that financial plan in their hands, it's what? Obsolete, Barry. Exactly right. Because here's the thing. All of the rates of return in there. The rates of return are, whatever I put, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever rate of return I put in there, what is that worth? What's that worth? Squat. Exactly, Barry. How about the inflationary rate of return? 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4, whatever. What's that worth? Well, and let's go back to the rate of return. What if I just happened to hit? Well, first of all, if I said it was 8%, it would have to be 8 every single year, right? Not just 8 one year. It had to be 8 every single year. Second thing is, What if it actually was on over 10 years an average of 8% if I said 8? But some years it was 15 and some years it was negative 10. Would that financial plan have any validity? Nope. Because as we've seen in our funny money in the event, average rate of return means diddly-do. So the rate of return I put in there is obsolete. The inflation is obsolete. I mean, their expenditures are obsolete unless they. So those financial plans are actually, I think, more dangerous than they are helpful, because it makes the client feel like you can see into the future. Can we see into the future, guys? No. So rather, the way I like to look at planning is what? Make sure we're with the tools that we have today, we're in the absolute best situation we can be in. Make sure that with the tools that we have today, that we're in the absolutely best situation we can be in. And then when we meet a year from now, we need to what? What should we do a year from now? Same thing, right, Michael? That's right, Robert. Yeah, same thing. Same thing, same thing. So our plan is the checklist. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go through, pull out the 21-point checklist, say, now, have you done your survivor's guide? And a lot of times they'll say, oh, no, that's one of the things I meant to do. And I say, okay, now why do we need to do it again? Have them tell me that and say, so we don't know when something's going to happen, so we need to get on this. And I'm going to go right through all the non-financial things. Why am I going through all the non-financial things? Non-financial things. To build trust, absolutely. Value, yep. And to remind them, am I just about the money? Differentiation, yeah, all those things, yeah. It's not just about the money. To remind them, I'm doing more for you than just managing your money. I'm doing a lot more for you. Now, what if they haven't done those things they're supposed to do? Do I care? Kind of, but whose job it is? Is it to fix those things? So it's my job to remind them, and then if they're not, at this point they don't think it's important, guess what? And I've had them tell me why they need to do this, and then they go home and do nothing. If they're not interested in it, guess what? Should I go down to the bank and change all the titling? Should I go and move the pencil across the paper to help them do the survivor's guides? Is it the teacher's job to take the test for the student? No. So what we do is we show them what needs to be done, and then continue to remind them it needs to get done, but we're not going to actually move the pencil across the paper for them. Is that fair or not fair? How much value are they getting from us compared to any other advisor when we do that? So the first thing we do is go through the non-financial. It builds all the things you said. It builds trust. It differentiates it. We don't come across as a salesman. It's about, we're not just about the money. Then, by the time we get to the money, if whatever our investments have gone down, does that help us? The fact that we spent 15, 20 minutes going through the non-financial, does it help us if our investments have gone down? Does it? Sure it does, because it says we're not just about the money. So it mutes any downward movement of your investments. And does it hurt us at all if the market's gone up? Does it hurt us to do all those other things? No, it makes it look that much better. So when we're talking about the money, what should we do before we talk about rates of return? And this is a mistake that so many advisors make. What should we do before we talk about how the money is done? Instead, I see advisors do this all the time. They whip out these statements and say, here's how your money is done. Here's how we've done. Here's the rates of return. Man, that is idiotic. That is so idiotic. What should we be doing? Okay, I get it. We've already covered the non-financials. We've done that. But when we get to the money, Robert, you got it. Review the goals. That's right, Robert. Review the goals. Set expectations. So where were we a year ago? Let's talk about where we were a year ago. And when I talk about where we were a year ago, no, don't ask them how they feel about performance. Dude, never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. If you ask them, how do you feel? Let's talk about that. I'm glad that you brought that up. Because let's say that the first thing, when we get to the money, the first thing we ask them is, how do you feel about the performance? What if they made 20%? How could they answer that? If I ask them, how do you feel about performance? How could they answer that if they made 20%? Yeah, they could say, I want 25. It was just okay. It wasn't enough. So the fact is, the first thing when we get to the money is we have to talk about what is the money supposed to do. You get that? We need to talk about what is the money supposed to do. You have to frame the conversation. If I just say, are you happy with the return, or I just whip out the return, guess what? Am I framing that conversation, or am I setting myself up for them to say, this wasn't enough? But if you frame the expectations, guess what? You could have lost money and still have them say it was fine. You got to frame the conversations. The first thing we need to do is say, where were you a year ago? Where were you a year ago? What did you have done? And again, we're going to use the non-financials in here as well. Where were you a year ago? What did the plan call for us to be this year? Again, using the non-financials and the financials. Where did we want to be? So guys, where did they want to be a year from now? So a year ago, when you sat down with them, was the agreement that they needed to be wealthy beyond belief by the next year? Is that your agreement? Is that what the plan called for? Did the plan call for them to be able to buy a Maserati or a mansion? What did the plan call for? See, this is an important thing for you to understand. At your annual review, you've got to be setting the expectations. Where do we want to be a year from now? And should I be talking about rates of return? What do we want to make? Do I have any control over what rate of return we're going to have next year? No. So the last thing I'm going to do is saying, hey, where do we want to be a year from now? We want to make 10%. That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk. So that's right, Gary. They want to continue their current lifestyle. That's what the plan is. So are they doing the things that the first, let me say, where did the plan call it for you to be this year? That your lifestyle was the same. Are you still able to go on vacations that you want to this year? Are you driving the car that you want to this year? Are you stressed for income this year? I mean, I'm going to talk about what we're supposed to be doing, which is what? Making sure their lifestyle remains the same as it was the previous year, so we're not falling backwards. Does that make sense? Is this what you all do with your annual reviews? You got to do these. I mean, if you do this, all your annual reviews are going to be super. Whether the market's up or down, your annual reviews are going to be so much better when you do it this way. So are your affairs in order? So that's, we've already talked about that with the non-financial. Is there anything new we should know about? What am I talking about there? Is there anything new we should know about? Kids getting married. Well, new money, Matt, I'd agree with that, yeah. But kids getting married, health problems, deaths, yeah. Any changes that might affect their situation going forth, divorce, birth, all those things, absolutely right. Those are the things that we're looking for. And why do we need to know about those things? What could those things change? Could they change the power of attorney? Yeah. Could they change the goals? Yeah. Really, it could change everything. So that's the first thing we need to talk about even before rates of return. And then we need to talk about diversification. Why do we want to talk about diversification? Why do we want to talk about diversification? Yes, Matt. So they understand that we are not going to we have money in safe and we have money in growth. Why? To maintain the diversification. So you need to talk about that before rates of return. Then we have to have again, these are discussions you're going to have every year, not just when they become a client. You need to have discussions with them every year before you talk about the rates of return. Then we talk about risk reward. How much risk do we want to take for the reward we're getting? These are conversations that you should have before we talk about rates of return. Asset weighting. How much should we have in growth? How much should we have in safety? Again, have these discussions before you talk about rate of return. Are the fees in check? So make sure you talk about fees. Now, why do you want to talk about fees, guys? Most advisors want to run away from the fee discussion. I want to talk about the fee discussion right up front. Why? Full disclosure, I'd agree with that, Chris. Yeah, I'd also, Kevin, full disclosure, I agree with that. Why else, though? This is a major thing. You need to put on your listening ears. You need to put on your listening ears. What are you listening for? I'd agree with that. Yep. The elephant in the room, Barry, exactly right. What is that elephant in the room? Well, yeah, Gary and Steve, yeah, help them recognize the value. What I'm looking for is, do they think the fees are what? Too expensive. I need to know when. When do I need to know that they feel my fees? And again, right now I'm helping you guys that are money managers. On the fixed side, we don't need to worry about fees because they're not seeing any fees. But on the growth side, on the money management side, they're seeing fees. So we better what? Make sure that they're okay with them. Because otherwise, you know what? They're not going to notify you when they fire you. And then trying to get them to come back, that is going to work. So I want to know right now, are they okay with the fees they're paying? Do they understand the value? And again, how do we frame our fees, guys? How do we frame our fees? If we're charging 1%, how do we frame our fees? If we're charging 1%, how do we frame our fees? See if somebody can get this. That's right, Chris. Chris said 21-point checklist for most of us. So if our fees are 1%, I'm going to say, now recall this 1% fee, really a quarter of it, 1/4 of 1% is for the management of your money. And the other 75 basis points is for us to do all these other things that we've been talking about the last 20 minutes to make sure these things are taken care of. So what is that doing to your fees then? The fee for money management. Because, you know, are the robo-advisors going to do all the other things that we do? Are the robo-advisors going to do? Yeah, so that's a way to frame our fees. And should I just do that just when we first set up the account, or should I do that every single year? You need to do it every time you meet with them. So these messages, why are we doing these messages over and over and over? Why do you say the same prayers over and over and over? Why do we sing the same anthem over and over and over at our games? Because the more you say it, the more they believe it. And then before we talk about rates of return, I'm going to ask them this question. Now, when your kids grow up, do you want them to be rich or happy? Now, why do I want them to bring that up? Why do I want to bring that up? And I love it. And am I talking about them or the kids? See how I'm not talking about them, I'm talking about the kids. Why do I want to talk about the kids? So when your kids grow up, do you want them to be rich or happy? What is everybody going to say when you say that? Will every parent say? Happy, exactly right, happy. So guess what my point is here? See, you can't ever make everyone happy. You're not an IntelliJar. So the fact is I've talked about this over and over and over. As advisors, can we ever make somebody happy? No. If you get them a 30% rate of return, what do they say? Why did I get 32? Or let me ask you a question. Let's say you got them a 30% rate of return, but they're getting a divorce. Are they going to? Are they going to be happy? Or if the child is getting a divorce, are they going to be happy? Or if they find out they have an illness. So does a rate of return? Can a rate of return make you happy, or does it allow you to be happy? That's right, Michelle. It can't make you happy, but it can make them mad. Because if you go down, here's the thing. So we can't make them happy with rates of return, but I guarantee you, even if I'm healthy, if I just lost 30% of my money, I'm still going to be what? Sad. So why do I want to have this conversation with the client? To remind them what? Are we there to help them get the highest rate of return? Or are we there to help them be happy? And make sure that we're not causing them to be sad. Do you think it's a bad conversation to have with people? Say, you know what? I want to get you the highest rate of return possible, but can I ask you a question? If I got you a 20% rate of return, is that going to make you happy? Can that make you happy? Is that going to make you happy? If your favorite dog just died, but I got you a 20% rate of return, would that 20% rate of return erase the sadness of the dog? No. But on the other hand, let's say you just got a puppy and you're so happy, but you just lose half your money in the market. Is that puppy going to be overweight the fear and loathing that you have with losing half your money? See, money cannot make you happy. And is this a message worth relaying to your clients? And having your clients repeat back to you. Money can't make you happy, but it sure can make you unhappy. It sure can make you unhappy. We can't make people happy. So what's our job then, guys? And again, you got to remind the clients, is it my job to take a bunch of risks to try to get you a mansion? No, it's my job to make sure what? You stay ahead of inflation and that your lifestyle does what? Stays where it's at. And that's why we have 50-50, folks, and have them explain to you why we have 50-50. And let's hear, what's the job of the growth money? What are we going to tell them about our growth money? So let's hear somebody say this. What are we going to tell them about our growth money? Are we going to make promises about our growth money? No. What are we going to say about the growth money? Goes up and down with the markets, Charles, right? It's going to go, when the market goes up, it's going to go up. When the markets go down, it's going to go down. But most years, it's going to go what? Up. And it's going to keep us ahead of inflation. Yep. And what is the purpose of the 50%? So on those years, then the market goes down, we can be sane human beings and still sleep and know that we're going to not do anything foolish like take our money out of the market, but instead let it come back up because we got this 50% over here to make sure that it allows us on, again, the market most years is going to go up, but some years is going to go down, and nobody has a crystal ball. Anybody says they have a crystal ball is crazy and a big fat liar. And I'm telling you right now, folks, we don't, and I'm going to talk to my clients. I'm telling you, folks, now I don't have a crystal ball. So this other 50% here is for those years when the market does go down that we're brave and have the wherewithal to wait for the market to turn around. And then I'm going to go ahead and say, remind them of all the things that we've done after that. So here's how I want them to leave. Do I want them leaving thinking they're happy about returns or sad about returns? Or do I want them going home saying, I'm going to sleep well tonight knowing that I made the right decision working with this advisor? So do you get the conversation you're having? How much of this whole conversation is about rate of return, guys? Very, 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 very little. So I want them thinking, wow, I'm glad I'm working with Mike because he's thinking about the big picture. He's keeping me sane. He's keeping me, got me into a good plan. And again, the plan is not about predicting the future. It's about doing the best thing for them possible right now. So is this how you've been conducting, or most advisors conduct their annual reviews? Do you think this is a better way to conduct annual reviews? Even on good years, do you think this is a better way to conduct annual reviews? Now, some ideas that I'd like you to consider with your interviews is this. If you can get the adult kids to come, have them come. Why is that an important thing? Get them to come. Well, lots of reasons. One is that it's a way for you to, introductions, yes. It's that they're going to be the inheriting people, exactly, so it's going to allow you to keep managing the money. Also, it's a great introduction. Can we help their children? Can we help their children? Yeah, we can. And then I'm always going to show them something like this. Would you be willing to help me if you knew anybody that could use this help? And then I'm going to prompt them and say, do you know anybody that just moved to town? Do you know anybody that just got married, just got divorced, had a grandchild? Do you know anybody with children going to college? Do you know anybody that just turned 7.5? Do you know anybody changing jobs? Do you know anybody that just turned 62 or 65? Do you know anybody that has a parent or spouse entering a nursing facility? What am I doing here, folks? Because when you say, hey, do you know anybody that could use our services, what do they say? Nope. But when I say, in fact, before I ask for referrals, I'd say, hey, do you know anybody that just moved to town? Hey, do you know anybody that just got married? I'd ask them these questions. Once they have those questions, then I can say, hey, would you mind, I could really help them out. Here's an example. Would you mind making an introduction? Or better yet, put together a little lunch and learn. I don't care if it's for 3-4 couples, and get them to invite those folks to a lunch and learn to make that introduction. It's far easier for these people to come see you at a group event, but I want it to be a very small group event, a small group event than it is to go one-on-one into your office. But what you're doing is you're prompting their brain. When you say, you probably experienced this well, I tell you where you've experienced this. You said, is there any other way I can help you, folks? Is there any other way I can help you? And then you find out 3 months from now that they went and bought life insurance or long-term care from somebody else, and you're like, dude, why did you buy that from somebody else? You could have bought that from me. See, when you say, is there any other way I can help you, their brain is too much. It's too big. You got to point it in the right direction. So instead of saying, do you know anybody that can help, you say, hey, do you know anybody that just moved to town? Give them an idea of who they're looking for. They'd say, no, I don't know anybody who you could help. But if you say, do you know anybody who moved to town? Oh, yeah, the people across the street just moved to town. Oh, yeah, one of my buddies just moved back from Seattle. Do you know anybody who can help me? No, I can't think of it. Do you know anybody that just got a divorce? Oh, yeah, yeah. In fact, my sister-in-law just got a divorce. Do you get that? You have to. Oh, Missy, where is this on the website?
It's underneath the. I think it's underneath the archive library, and I'll check on that, and I'll be back in touch with you here.
Super. So do you get it, guys? You're helping them understand the kind of people you're looking for. Because when you say, do you know anybody that would be interested in our services, it's too broad. They're like, I don't know. Do you get the psychology of that, folks? And Missy, did you come back on?
It sure is. It's underneath the archive library, and it's just underneath the Royal Loyal system, and this is the love letter, the Royal Loyal love letter.
Okay. And then I do interviews annually. I've talked about how I do them on the calendar. You can do them any way you want, but that's how I clumped all of mine together. And once the clients know that we get together every June, they just know we get together every June or whatever. Now, the other thing that I do is this, is I had my annual reviews down to a half hour and sometimes even a quarter of an hour because I saw my clients every single month. How did I see my clients? And this was before email. Now I would see my clients twice every month. So how am I seeing my clients every month, guys? How am I seeing my clients every month? Without having to even see them, I'm seeing them every single month. With the newsletter, right, Kim? With my newsletter. So the first paragraph is always about me and my family. So when I'm talking about these little anecdotes about what's going on with me and my family, they feel like what? They feel like they just visited me. They feel like they've just visited me with those little anecdotes, the first paragraph in the newsletter. It's so important to have that to be personal, an anecdote about what's happening with you and your family, because it gives them an idea of what's going on in life. So it feels like they've visited with me. Now, the second thing I do is twice a year. So once in the summer, once in the winter, I would have an annual client get-together, a thank you. So I would have a barbecue in the summer, and I would have a Christmas lights tour in the winter. How big was my presentation at these two events? How big was my presentation at these two events? Zero, Barry. Zero, exactly right. Zero. It's about what? Having fun. And I would have my kids there and Michelle there. And they just loved getting to know my kids. My kids just loved it because they were just like had 200 grandparents all fawning all over them. And so it's a great way for them to get to know you and your family. People do business with people they like. So I would have a barbecue in the summer. And is the annual barbecue and the annual Christmas light tour, is it designed to get referrals and get new people? No, it's not. It's designed to what? Bond. See, it's designed so that how often do I have to meet with my clients? If they understand what we're supposed to be doing and I'm keeping their lifestyle ahead of inflation, are they worried about the market going up and down? And Missy can validate this. How often do we have clients calling us, Missy, about the market going up and down?
Never, ever.
Because we set expectations about what we were supposed to be doing so they didn't worry about that stuff. So the annual barbecue and the Christmas lights tour was always about building relationships, having fun. So they saw me twice per se, and we had huge, not so much with the Christmas lights tour, we didn't have a huge response to that, but the offer was always out there. But our barbecue was like 90% of the people came to that. And they loved it every single year. And then I took the pictures from that, and those are the pictures I put up on the wall in the lobby, right? All the smiling, happy faces. So the thing is, guys, I'm sorry, you're trying to get in there, Missy?
No, I was just saying that, yeah, it was fabulous. It was very well attended. That was the thing that they would call us at the beginning of the summer and ask us when the next date was, when is the party going to be this summer? What's the date? And it was great.
Yeah, because they would schedule their other party or their other vacations around it. And it did. How much did it cost us, Missy? I mean, we did it at a local
garden
Actually, at
club.
an old nursery.
Nursery, yeah. Yeah, I think it was right around, like, it was a little less than $2,000, I think, and we had like 210 people-ish show up for it, something around there. And yeah, it was just a perennial gardens, and we were able to give them a little discount coupon so people would actually buy plants and everything there as well. It was great.
And we
Served
have
them
that.
barbecue, gave them
And where do we?
prizes.
Yeah. And where do we have that manual on how to do that?
That's actually underneath the archive library as well, and it is just called Client Appreciation Barbecue Event.
So that means I saw basically all my clients once at a social event that cost me very little. And the nice thing about the barbecue is I could mix in all the way through and talk to everybody. We're all mixing and matching. Everybody's having a great time. So it's very inexpensive, relatively speaking. And so I saw them there. I saw them at the interview, and then they saw me every single month in the newsletter. So did they feel neglected, or were they felt warm and cuddly that I was with them at all times? And again, a good indication of that is when the markets went down, they weren't all that worried about it. So does that make sense? And guys, when should you start doing this? Before the markets go down or after? And we're now at the very, we're at the very high end of the bull market. Now we don't know when it's going to go down, but we do know that what? Every bull market does end, and we're now 7 years into a bull market or whatever it may be. So we're at the very end of this bull market now. It could go on another 3 years. We don't know. But when you're near the end, guess what? It doesn't go on forever. So we need to be preparing for this now, right, John? Now. So was this helpful, guys, on annual reviews, how to conduct them, how to make them better? Was this helpful? Good. Super. Let's see. Do you write info about your family in paper? Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the newsletter, the first paragraph is always about me and my family. The first paragraph in the monthly newsletter is always about me and my family. Absolutely. Super. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you on Friday. Have a great week.